Hey guys, Dave with Moniology here. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. This is the weekend market review for May 5th and 6th, 2018. For purposes of brevity, we're going to just take a look at the markets from weekly perspective this time around. I wanted to also find some time to shoot a uranium video, so hopefully that'll come on board shortly. So let's have a look at what's taking place in the markets here. Starting with the 10-year weekly chart. I pointed out here that we've got a little bit of negative divergence here where we've just made higher highs versus earlier in February and May, or March rather, but RSI is lower today than it was last time around. So I think that we're setting up for another pullback here, possibly to as low as 2.5 over here, whereas a lot of market participants are expecting to go immediately higher. I think we're going to pull back before making that turn higher before year end. Looking at gold from a weekly standpoint, gold is at a very critical juncture. It closed the week last week at RSI right below 50. That's not a positive development. But that being said, it bounced pretty nicely here, so it needs to recapture that 50 RSI marker to suggest that this particular pullback is over. There's a lot of support at the 50-week moving average at 1301, followed by the 200 at 1274. So I don't think that any further downside is going to be permanent. But that being said, it's still right now in bearish territory in the intermediate term. Now looking at the high yield junk ETF. It's looking stronger, to be honest, with PPO here moving towards a break above zero. It's above the 50-week moving average, just hovering at that middle Bollinger level around 35.80 level, and it's just closed the week just below the 50, but it looks like it made a break of the 50. Now it's consolidating right at that level. So let's see what happens in the coming weeks to see whether this is breaking out to new highs or the pullback, this rounded top, is indeed a continuation pattern and going lower. Time will tell. Looking at crude oil weekly here, crude oil has been one of the strongest sectors this year for sure, and it looks like it wants to break higher now. Although we have some negative divergence where we're breaking to new highs, but RSI is not yet there. There are other signs that are pointing that this negative divergence may not prove to be correct. Why? Because PPO is moving in a positive direction towards a break above zero. Money flows is very positive. It's got a lot of support below it. It's above the middle Bollinger Band, and I have a feeling that this breaks above 70 sooner rather than later. So we'll see here, but it's very bullish as far as I'm concerned, so long as RSI in the weekly is above that 60-61 level here. NASDAQ weekly here. NASDAQ, in my opinion, is getting set to move higher. It broke out of this downtrend here in RSI, and it's above the 50 level. With Apple, for example, its leader looking like it has very strong momentum. I think that NASDAQ is getting set to push and make a run higher in the coming weeks ahead. Russell weekly, same thing. It's consolidating here. It's had a multi-week corrective pattern with consecutive higher highs, finding support around that 50-week moving average. And so I think that this is setting up for a very nice run in the next coming weeks and months ahead. S&P weekly, weakest of the bunch, ironically, but I think that this particular pattern is going to break to the upside. It closed the week, you see, above that 50 RSI level. It needs to hold that, but so long as it's above the 50-week moving average, I think that there's a higher than 50% probability that we move higher rather than lower. But I remain open to the possibility if this 50 level breaks to the downside, then the S&P likely moves lower. A couple more charts here. Looking at the US dollar from a weekly standpoint, this will likely explain why gold has been fairly weak over the last several weeks. I pointed out how that 92 level was critical. Well, we closed the week above the 92 level, and we closed it not only with price, but we closed it with positive divergence. What do I mean by that? RSI here is higher at 92.41 than when we were at 95.07. So this wants to move higher. How much higher remains to be seen. I would not be surprised if we make a run towards 96 here before this particular move hits some serious resistance. We're still looking at, just very quickly looking at the monthly, we're still below 50 on the RSI, so there's a lot of work to be done, but PPO is moving higher, so who knows, maybe this move is indeed for real. Time will tell, but it's definitely not a good sign for gold bugs if the dollar is moving higher. Although it's still a possibility that both gold and the dollar can move higher. That has happened before. Looking at the VIX, we had a very interesting pattern of indecision. On the one hand, we broke lower below this particular trend line, but we closed higher both above the 50 and the 200-week moving average, which is around the 1430 to 1450 level. We closed at 1477. Is that a sign that things will see a resumption of volatility soon? We don't know, but it's certainly an area to focus on over here. So long as it's above 1250, that's a bullish sign longer term in volatility. Finally, looking at the world markets excluding the US, we're hovering above that 50 level. That's an important level to hold. PPO is moving higher, so this may be an opportunity to buy long, but again, if it breaks below that 50-week moving average around 1973, that's your sign that you do not want to be in this trade, and likely time to go out of the market, trim your longs, or go short altogether, depending on your strategy. But I think that this is likely moving higher rather than lower in the next coming weeks and months, because we broke out of this downtrend here, and we're riding very solid support both on the 50 and the 200-week moving average below it. I think that this likely resumes higher in the coming weeks ahead. Guys, thank you for watching. I know it's a short video, but we appreciate your support. Hopefully this was helpful, and if you have any questions or comments, please do post them in our YouTube page, and subscribe to our page on YouTube, StockTwits, and at Twitter at Moniology. Thanks, and have a great week.